for the Terran and 2 mules on the field at the moment, whereas the Zerg has 74 drones. So the income is going to be in favor for the Zerg by quite a bit. We have 1,200 minerals per minute for the Zerg, 900 to 1,000 for the Terran with the power of those mules, so it is going to still be keeping up in the economy. Zerg does choose to go for a fourth. He does get the double extractor up straight away, so he does want to get a lot more gas to actually help complement his real excess in minerals. Now the supplies are actually equal for both players, but because the Zerg does have a couple more workers, he is going to be down on the army units. Now Zerg is moving in. He is going to meet a wall of missile turrets. Actually he did choose to move the mutas rather than attack move, so he is actually going to get he does lose quite a bit of mutas to those missile turrets and losing a couple more to the static defense at the third, but he is going to slamp out most of these workers. Terran choosing to completely ignore it and choosing to actually push through, so he is going to lose most of these workers. Probably not going to lose the command center too early, but at the moment the Terran is just pushing out across the map. The Terran does have 9 siege tanks, quite a few Hellions, around 13, and 4 Thors. The Thors are going to take out the mutas pretty easily. The Balings and Zerglings do run in, trying to do as much damage, but only taking out around 3 or 4 Hellions, not really doing all that much damage. Brockemon does have Zerg in a slight contain. He does have one path blocked out, but again, because there are many entrances, the Zerg does have an option to flank from the side if he really wants to. And because he doesn't have vision of the high ground, the units are actually going to take a lot less hits from this area than they would if they ran straight on. So the Terran does force a scan on the ramp. He sees that there's nothing there, so he actually does have an opportunity to move forward, try to catch the Zerg out of position, and he is actually going to have the high ground advantage up here. And he does scan, so the Zerg probably does know that he is planning an attack, moving all his units out of the range of that high ground. So really good reaction skills by the Zerg. So if we look at the unit tab yet again, we have 188 Zerglings on the field for the Zerg, and 16 mutas, 24 Balings. He could probably convert all those Zerglings into Balings, so he can basically have a really large number of Balings, obviously. We have seen the power of that. He did manage to wipe out the entire Terran's mech army, which was supply capped, if I remember correctly. Could have been. Zerglings do run in and snipe out the siege tanks and Thor that were out of position. I don't really agree with that placement, because especially since you're in that corner there, you're going to get surrounded pretty quickly, and that kind of does split your siege tank splash damage area in half. Now Thors do run out. One Thor is slightly low on health, so that probably will get sniped out pretty easily. The Hellions do move in, the Thors do move in, the siege tanks stay in position, try to cover the sides just in case there is a flank. So this hatchery is probably going to take it out. We do have 3 Thors just sitting idly, and OneHand actually sitting back trying to mass up enough units to take out this army. He doesn't want to run in too early, or else that's basically going to be the end for him. So he's trying to mass up what he can and move out when he's ready. We do have the workers retreating back, but they are going to get picked off pretty quickly. Now the Zerg is moving in for the counterattack. He does move all the Zerglings and Balings in. Most of them do get taken out by the siege tanks, only taking out around probably 3 or 4 Hellions yet again, and he does lose most of them to the siege tanks. So he really could use the mutas to take out any siege tanks on the side, but he is probably going to get repelled by the Thors yet again. Now it does lose 1 or 2 mutas to the Thors. He probably snipe at that Marine as well, but might as well let the Marine live a bit. We do see Brockemon's third base actually not recovering. It's been floating idly around this entire time, but if we look at the income tab, Zerg actually shooting ahead with 1,500 compared to Terran's probably going to jump to 800, 900 soon. So that third base actually not mining did cause quite a bit of economic damage. There is 2 mutas here that is just going to snipe out any workers that do appear and forcing liftoff yet again. Now OneHand is actually going to take out any reinforce that come in, manage to snipe out that Thor. That's actually pretty vital, because he wants to try to keep the Thor count as low as possible. Try to snipe out any siege tanks that he can, because the siege tanks are actually quite expensive. So if he can take out what he can, it's going to lower the Terran's defenses quite a bit. So there is actually a missile turret placed here, so that is going to help drive away the mutas if they decide to come in, but OneHand does decide to go in, trying to micro his mutas, pulling out the ones that are damaged. And Brockemon is moving his contain forward into the Zerg's base. We do have 5 Ultralists on the way that they're probably going to help deal with the siege tanks a bit, but they are going to get taken out pretty quickly by the Thors. Now Thors are just cleaning up Zerg's main base, slowly moving towards a hive that is probably going to get taken out before the ultras can pop. The 3 Thors are on the field trying to take out the Hellions, but the Hellions are actually trying to bait Thors, not the Thors, the Ultralisk into the siege tank fire, but OneHand knows better. So at the moment the Terran is actually in a slightly bad situation. He actually can possibly get flanked from 3 sides. If you look at the unit counting station, there are 36 Zerglings for the Zerg, 5 Ultralisks, 5 Mutas, and 27 Banelings. So actually no, the Terran is going to be pretty safe at the moment, since he does have 15 Hellions, 12 Thors actually. That's actually quite a lot of Thors. Most of them are in his main base trying to defend against the Mutas though, so there are only 6 Thors here trying to defend his base, as well as 10 Marines and 13 siege tanks. So we do see more Ultralisks in production, more Thors being produced by the Terran. Zerg actually still sitting on 3,000 minerals in the bank. He could probably expand again, throws a lot of in-base hatcheries, basically pile up as much lava as he can. And he actually does have his units spread out quite a bit. He could probably try to get a bit more of a tactical advantage across the Terran, because it is pretty slow. You're not going to be able to retreat all that quickly. And the Mutas are just hanging around, trying to pick off anything that does manage to fly by. So this command center probably is going to fall, assuming OneHand is paying attention to those Mutas. Now the Terran is moving in. The Hellions trying to force the Zerg units out of position, trying to get the Zerglings to run forward into the siege tank fire. At the moment, the Hellions are kind of expendable. They can basically get taken out by siege tank damage, and the Ultras do run in, take out a lot of those stores, but they are taking out a lot of damage from the siege tanks at the moment. He does manage to take out 2 or 3 siege tanks, 3rd falling, 4th falling, 5th, 6th, 7th, another 4 does fall, and he does manage to clean up that mech army. But there is a small army there that probably will take out the Ultralisk pretty quickly. That's 4 Thors and quite a few siege tanks which were unsieged. So they will actually get the bonus damage against the armored, so they did clean that up pretty efficiently. So we do see level 3 Carapace upgrade coming up for the Zerg, more Ultras on the field, as well as another hatchery. We do see level 3 vehicle weapons coming up for the Terran, so they are going to beef up the Thors and the siege tanks. And a lot of Zerglings running in, catching the siege tanks unsieged. Managed to take out 1 siege tank, a Thor, and taking out a 2nd Thor, and probably taking out this 3rd Thor as well. But they are going to fall from the combined damage of the siege tank fire and the Thor, taking out 1 last siege tank just before he gets taken out. So the Zerg is actually in quite a decent position than he was in before. My brain is slowly melting from all this casting. He did lose his main, yes. He did lose his natural, but actually no, he did lose his lair as well. Yeah, so at the moment Zerg is only sitting on hatcheries, so he can't really get any of his... He can't really rebuild any of his tech structures at the moment. He can't really get a Roach Warden up since he doesn't have a... Actually, no, he can. He does still have his spawning pool, I assume. Yes, he does. So he can't really get, say, his Spire up, which he actually did lose in that attack. So we're not going to see any Mulus reinforcements anytime soon. He's not rebuilding his... Wow, my brain just, like, blanked out for a second. The Ultras are going to manage to take out this planetary fortress, but SCV is doing the best they can to actually try and repair that. Their Hellions do come in, trying to do as much damage to the Ultras as they can, but the planetary fortress does fall in the end. Now these Ultras are going to get taken out by the combined fire of the siege tanks and the Thors. Other than that, Zerg does have another 4 Ultras coming out on the field. They aren't really going to do much against this mech army. He doesn't really have the units to help back it up. He is mined out at one of his bases. This base is getting really low on minerals as well, and basically he's mined out at his natural and his main. So the Zerg is running out of income really quickly, and he only has 1,200 minerals in the bank. He really needs to get his expansion up over here. The Terran is actually still looking pretty healthy. I guess not. Terran's sitting at around 400 minerals per minute. Zerg sitting around 300. Now these SCVs here aren't really mining, so that is causing the Terran to drop down quite a bit. The Terran could gain quite an economic advantage if he did keep an eye on his SCVs, but at the moment the Terran is actually still in quite a commanding position. He does have a pretty good contain on Zerg, quite a lot of Thors on the field, quite a lot of siege tanks, and basically since the Zerg can't reinforce with the low tier armies, which you can't mass up, basically it'd only have ultras to deal with this really fearful army. So if the Zerg does engage right now, he is going to lose all his ultras, and that is basically going to be GG for him. The Zerg is slowly pushing out. He does know where the units are. He does know that he can end this game right now. This ultra barely escaping with his life at the moment with 22. That's probably like one volley from the siege tanks, and that would basically be gone. Now he is going to slowly bunny hop into his base. This is his only last functioning base. He is mined out his main, mined out of his natural, and basically once this hatchery is gone, it's going to be GG for the Zerg. Now if two Thors do decide to run in by themselves, they are probably going to get sniped out by the ultras. Siege tank support and an extra Thor early moving in just now. Both Thors do fall. One ultra falls, two ultra Thors falls. That's a tongue twister. And that is basically going to be GG for the Zerg. So OneHand does type out with the GG. And to be honest, this series was actually pretty good. It did go to the ace match, which is always good in a tournament. Most of the games were macro play, as OneHand does agree, saying that Brockmon's macro is Gosu. And for those who don't know what Gosu is, A, you're doing it wrong, B, it just basically means epic in Korean. So my general comments over this series, apart from the fact that it was actually pretty good, we did see quite a few different situations appear in the series, and it was actually good to see how the players responded to it. The only thing that I could possibly fault with this series was it actually got quite repetitive, as many of you probably have realized. Especially if you're going in a best of 5 against someone. Not really relevant if you're going in a best of 3, and not relevant at all if it's a best of 1. But if it's a best of 5, 7, etc, etc, you kind of want a range of build orders against your opponent. Otherwise, if they realize that you start going the same build from game 1, 2, 3, from that point onwards, it actually becomes a bit more predictable. So you can actually kind of play blind and still counter their build pretty effectively. So we did see Brockemon go for the Hellion openings into mass mech. We did see OneHand going for the Speedling opening into Mutas and Bailings basically. But we did see Brockemon go in with a all-in attack that probably threw OneHand off slightly, but OneHand did react pretty well. So just to summarize, if you guys are going for best of 5s, just mix up your build orders a bit. They might be slightly less effective, but you kind of do gain the element of surprise instead, and sometimes, because it is a strategy game, you do want to kind of mess with your opponent's head quite a bit, so just keep that in mind. So yeah, Brockemon will be the one advancing into the round of 4, which is probably going to be pretty epic. If I remember correctly, Brockemon will be versing Altpig in the round of 4, so that will be an interesting couple of matches. So Brockemon still being pretty dominant in this tournament, OneHand coming pretty close to knocking him out, but Brockemon just slightly pulling away with the power of Digimons and Pokemons. And yes, I know I said I wouldn't make that reference again, but I did. Live with it. This has been Crucius for Into StarCraft, UCID and New South Wales StarSoc, and I'll see you guys in the round 4.